Dit is aflevering 3 van de Back in Action podcast met als gast Mimi Kuo Deemer. Ja, in dit interview dus een gesprek met Mimi Kuo Deemer, de yogadocent die yoga en Qigong met elkaar combineert. Ik volgde haar al een tijdje op YouTube, omdat ik zelf kennis had gemaakt in mijn yin-opleiding met de activiteit Qigong. Helemaal erg aangenaam in de periode dat ik zelf stevige reumatische pijnen had. Want het is juist deze activiteit die met name staand wordt uitgevoerd, heel zacht voor de gewrichten is, wel heel veel energie door je lijf laat stromen, zonder je longen heel erg te belasten. Dus door de energie via de meridianen vanuit die 5 elementen leer laat stromen door je lijf. Nou, dat vond ik een prachtige. Omdat ik haar dus al volgde op YouTube en nu dus de gelegenheid was om haar te volgen. Ze kwam voor een workshop naar Nederland. Heb ik haar ook benaderd voor een podcast interview. En ik denk dat ze heel veel te vertellen heeft voor de luisteraars van deze podcast Back in Action. Alle aandacht dus nu voor dit gesprek met Mimi Kuo Deemer. Mimi Kuo Deemer, is that how we...
Very close.
Very close.
Yeah.
Will you introduce yourself?
Yeah. So, it's spelled K-U-O, my last name.
Yes,
Kuo, Kuo Deemer. So,
Kuo, okay, Kuo
Mimi
Deemer.
Kuo Deemer. I often say it's like status quo, but with a K.
Okay, like that, yeah, status quo.
In Mandarin it would be Guo, but the English pronunciation is Kuo. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So this is Mimi Kuo Deemer. That's nearly, isn't it?
It
is, okay. We are here in this yoga studio in Zaandam. And Mimi was here today. It's in a 3-day course for teacher training in Qigong. So we are here, we practice Qigong today. And that's why I introduced this question to Mimi and asked her, can we have a podcast? And tell the Dutch public, what is Qigong? So could we have it, like we said, we say it in it's a Jip and Janneke taal, meaning as if we are small people, children, and explain what is Qigong. Could you explain it to us?
So Qigong is one of the 5 pillars of Chinese medicine.
Okay, 5.
So it's,
number 1.
It's medicinal. And the other 4 pillars would be acupuncture, which many people know, massage, herbs, herbal medicine, and feng shui, which is geomancy, how you arrange your living space or working space.
Okay.
So movement, Qigong, is one of the forms of medicine, and it's considered, it's considered a way to, like acupuncture, move qi, which is life energy. Qigong means the cultivation of life energy.
Okay.
It's also a martial practice, meaning it's the foundation of martial arts. So Bruce Lee will have done a lot of Qigong.
And Kung Fu fighting.
Kung Fu fighters, they will all have done a lot of Qigong. And it's also a spiritual practice, as Qigong and movement is part of a Taoist and Buddhist tradition in China.
Okay.
So the Shaolin monks are very famous, right? They're Buddhist. They're also martial artists, but they do Qigong.
Okay, okay. We hear people walking. We just finished class and people are walking around this camera, and probably we hear the footsteps, which is not what I remember, like in films as well, like the Buddhist monks were walking as if...
Very silently.
Yes. So this is probably not what we should be doing. We should be doing it intentionally and a little bit of,
We do what we can, right?
Yeah, because that was what we were practicing this afternoon. Having a bit of resistance and bring intention into your movements. Why is that so important in Qigong?
Qigong works with this idea, Yi Dao, Qi Dao in Mandarin. Yi is your mind or your intention.
Yes.
Dao means to arrive. And Qi is life energy. Dao means to arrive. So they say when your mind or intention arrives, the qi flows, or where mind goes, energy flows.
That was, okay.
And there's also a belief in Chinese medicine that the mind directs the qi, and the qi directs the blood, or affects the blood.
Mind directs the qi, and the qi directs the
blood.
The blood. Okay.
And in Qigong, they're finding a lot of new science in neuroscience and mindfulness. They're looking at Qigong because people's mind can now be measured in neuroscience. Mm-hmm. They can't measure qi because they can't quite define what life energy is.
Yeah.
But they can also test and measure the blood. And so it's like an equation.
Yeah.
They measure what the mind is doing. They measure the blood, and the effect after Qigong on the blood is that it's reducing inflammatory cytokines, which is the leading cause of inflammation.
Yes.
And the leading cause of many diseases.
Yes.
So Qigong, they're very interested in intention as a movement art because it's having direct benefit and effect on our health. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because that's why I was introduced to Qigong during a Yin teacher training, and that was in the period that I had a lot of inflammation going on in my body. So that's why I liked Qigong so much, because it was so nice and gentle to my joints. Yeah. So it was a kind of arthritis, inflammatory disease. It lasted 2 years, but it's gone now.
Amazing.
It is, yeah. So there's a self-healing power, energy that was touched upon, I suppose.
Yeah.
And the movement and the Yin yoga, it really helped. It was like bringing my own acupuncture needles into certain areas, and had to slow down as well. But is that sort of expectation that a lot of people can have, that it's a self-healing?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And because of the research that's coming out, I think there's a lot more interest in Qigong.
Okay, yeah.
The obvious and immediate effect that it can have on inflammation is one thing, but it's like a moving meditation. And so I think in today's very fast-moving, quick-fix society, something slower isn't always easy, but I think it's an antidote. Right? It's a gentle rebellion against that speed, and it's so therapeutic.
It is.
To slow down and have a moving meditation is a lot. It's a lot more beneficial than I think people understand. But once they try it, they feel, seated meditation may be very difficult because you have to sit still. Yeah. Moving meditation is more accessible for people. And I think it's a sign maybe that people are seeking some sort of tonic for their hearts and their minds, but also for the health of their bodies. Yeah,
that was one of the things you mentioned today. Like, if you use the the energy has to go through the body without the lungs being exerted.
So, one of the best. I think you're referencing a quote. Yeah. It was from a book I recently read, and it described Qigong as a practice that circulates the blood without taxing the lungs.
Yeah. Very interesting. Yeah. Because that's exactly how it feels. You're not out of breath, but it goes really deep. I can really feel now that I've done something. Yeah. But that's because I've been teaching already. But it adds up, and it's very nice that you don't tax your lungs, and still there's a lot of energy spreading through the body.
People's hands get warm, their feet get warm. It's a sign that the circulation is effective and optimized. Yeah. And in Chinese medicine, the lungs are very important. They're considered the chancellor to the heart. And the heart is the empress or the emperor, so it's the main sovereign. Okay. And as its job, it's to remain calm and tranquil. Yeah. Yeah. If the lungs, which are the second in command, are constantly depleted, overworked, you're breathing quickly, and you're taxing the lungs, then the heart isn't getting the backup and the support that it really needs to do its job fully.
So are you saying that the heart, because for people to understand what we are talking about, because this goes really deep into the philosophical and theoretical part, the heart is more important than the lungs in Qigong?
Well, in Chinese medicine and Qigong, the heart is the supreme sovereign. It's like the sun in the sky.
Okay.
and it rules over the whole body. If the heart is depleted, overstimulated, if it feels undernourished, it can affect the health of the whole body.
Okay.
And you see today, the leading cause of death is still heart disease.
Is it? Yeah.
Even it's still surpassing cancer.
Okay. Yeah.
Because people's hearts are over agitated, overstimulated, overburdened. There's a lifestyle that is kind of either a thrill-seeking lifestyle, or we think stimulation is really good, or our diet and our lifestyle is too sedentary, and so the heart is too sluggish, or it's overburdened from excess weight, or unhealthy diet, lack of exercise, lack of circulation. The heart gets stuck, right?
But how can we get people to change, to swap from one lifestyle to the other?
So that's an interesting question, because I don't think we can ever impose.
But can Qigong do that for them?
What I found, and I really believe this, is that the body wants to be healthy. When it gets a taste of balance and homeostasis, and that doesn't mean perfection. Balance to me means you recover more quickly if you get sick. It's not that you never get sick. That's impossible.
That's right,
But you don't stay sick for a long time. Your body recovers more quickly.
Yeah, you're not going that deep into the...
But when you start to feel that, a lot of choices you make change. Your body will want to maintain good health. And so from feeling good, you're going to start to maybe change how you eat, change the time you go to bed, maybe even shift the type of company that you keep or the things that you read and ingest, because it has that sense of like, it's the positive magnet. And a person is like that too. If you're around a really positive person, you just want to spend more time with that person generally. Right? They're nice to be around.
There's like some kind of people you're like, I don't want to, this could probably be too close, but we need to be really close for the camera. Although we've just met,
it would be really
it would feel really odd if you were with a person you only you were in front of there, and I was in the huge group of classes, and being so close together with somebody you don't know it's okay now, but it's not like sort of normal.
Right.
So there is energy. There's a sort of area you want to step into, or and that's what animals have like. Immediately they sense it, they see it, they scan the situation or the person, and we somehow lost that capability of using that instinct, or got lost of what's best for you to make choices.
And I think that's maybe why Qigong is very powerful as a way into health, because it's very embodied. And we spend so much time thinking, analyzing, processing mentally. Qigong is a practice that awakens and invites participation from the whole body. As a result, the mind gets a little quieter, and it's not the only decision-making entity anymore. The rest of the body's intelligence gets a say.
Yeah, that's nice.
Has a platform, and we tune into these kinds of things a little bit more, because we're not just overthinking. It's not just fear or worry or judgment or what does that person think of me? Is this appropriate? It's actually the body's wisdom and intelligence and knowing that gets to speak more. And Qigong wakes that up, because it's a moving meditation that involves the body. And again, there's a lot of research that's so interesting, because neuroscience has been looking at mind into body, right? It's really affecting, or neuroscience is focused on the mind. But there's a new movement called embodied cognition, and they're studying the reverse. They're studying the effect of the body on the brain.
Right.
And they're seeing that the body has information, that it's a two-way street. It's sending information back to the brain. It's affecting the beta, gamma waves. It's affecting, as much as body or mind tries to control body, body's got a very, very strong...
Okay, that impact is strong as well.
The vagus nerve, it goes between the heart and the brain. They've discovered it at Stanford University. They have a center for compassionate research, but there's neuroscientists working on research about the vagus nerve and the heart-mind connection. So interesting, because they're finding that there's more messages neurologically going from the heart to the brain than there are from the brain to the heart.
Really? Yeah. Well, this is interesting because I Googled you, of course, and I read your about page. I've got your book as well, and I discovered that she's done quite a lot of studying, and you can hear that. You want to know what you're talking about and what you teach. Huh? You've studied.
A bit of it, I like to go in depth as much as I can.
Yeah, because there was a study in, is it Stanford University in America? Yeah. But that is in Silicon Valley, is it?
No, Stanford is, well, not quite. It's near.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley is a little bit south of Stanford, which is in Palo Alto.
Yeah, but I envision that that's quite a lot of the new tech, high-tech things going on. So what was the study you were doing there?
Oh, I wasn't studying there. I read a study, but I did go to Stanford.
Yeah, that's what I read. Okay. So you didn't study there, but you did it in London then?
My study?
Yeah.
No, so I went to university at Stanford.
Explain, where are you from? That's probably nice, because where does all this knowledge come from?
Well,
tell a bit about your background.
My degree was nothing to do with Qigong.
No, that's what I thought. Yeah.
It was in American studies.
Yeah.
And I also did a lot of classes in East Asian studies and Chinese history.
Okay.
And I almost did a double degree.
Yeah.
But I didn't make it.
Okay.
But I did study at Stanford, and then when I finished, I was working as a photographer.
Okay.
And when I finished, I went to China, and I was interested in journalism, and I started out in journalism. And I worked at CNN for the first year in Beijing. Then I went to work as a photographer at Reuters, and then I went freelance, and I did work for many different Western news organizations. I think the background in journalism made me curious about the world.
Okay.
And also
looking through a lens makes you
visually, but also narrative and storytelling.
Yeah.
And that sort of prompted, I think, understanding things and the stories that can connect understanding. And it was later when I was an overworked and stressed out journalist that I said, right, I need to change this because it's taking a toll on my health.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I did a lot of dance. My mother thought I had toes that turned in, so she thought if I go to ballet school, I'll turn my toes out. And I was terrible at dance.
Okay, like the plie kind of exercises.
It was never very graceful, I felt. And then I didn't like the performance of dance. I tried, but I was never very good.
Yeah.
So when I was really sick, my mother had this book, this photocopied book from the 1970s of yoga.
Okay.
And you know how mothers are. They know. Whether it was conscious or unconscious, she gave me a copy of this book.
Yeah.
Woman wearing a leotard, doing poses, and I started to do them.
Yeah.
And I immediately felt a shift. And I just did the practices from the book.
Okay.
This was in 1995 or 1996. And after that, I left China. I went to the States.
Yeah.
And I was working in New York, stressed out still, and I decided to try yoga and go to a class. So that was a shift for me. It really started something different. But it was from the book that began. And soon I discovered, though, that my sense of health, I could have more control over my sense of health and well-being. But it also started to shift my perspective of the world. And I started to see things more clearly. Started to recognize, I think, what we were talking about earlier, that when I'm feeling healthy, other things start to make more sense, and things started to slowly shift.
It's like the world, your perspective enlarges. It's not just you feeling horrible, and with there's more time and energy to go to spread into the world.
Then I went back to Beijing and was still working as a photographer, and then went back again to Los Angeles, and that's when my love of yoga completely changed. I went to a class I think I cried twice in that class because I was going through a difficult time, and my best friend took me to this class, and it really shifted things.
Yoga can do that.
Yeah, and then I was there every day after that, pretty much.
Okay, yeah.
And it was in 2003 that I began Qigong.
Okay.
And I was in China. I was back in China by then. Mm-hmm. I'd opened a yoga studio in 2002.
Yeah.
And we invited someone from the US who I'd taken a class with, and I thought his work was amazing because he was blending Qigong and yoga and Tai Chi and dance. And I thought it would be a very good fit, and he also wanted to come to Beijing to study.
Okay, so it was an American coming into China
yes.
to teach you Qigong.
I know.
And Qigong is Chinese.
I know. It's the
Originally.
world is a funny place. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But, and I think because of my background, my parents were originally from China. They went to Taiwan. They were immigrants to the United States. I was born in the States.
Oh, you were born in the States?
Born in the States, but raised with a lot of a mix of Chinese culture and American
East and
values.
West. Yeah.
So I really feel that culture and appropriation. What does that mean? I know it's a sensitive topic right now, but I feel that no lineage, tradition, belief system is pure.
Yeah.
It's the dialectic of history, cultural exchange, trade. It's influenced the development of yoga, of Buddhism, of Taoism, of Christianity, of everything. And so there are differences in all of these, but there's so much crossover and richness that's come from dialogue and innovation.
That really came through this afternoon in the class as well, because we as teachers, we always want to have strict rules. Is left over right with your hands, is that what it's meant to be, or certain pose or lineage? And I really liked that she said it's you who make the decision, and that's probably nice. It's no strictness, and feel what's best. Make your own decisions, which is what I really like with the podcast to bring out. Yeah, because one question I ask to each interviewee, is that how it? My English is not.
That's great. It's very impressive.
So if you you make certain decisions, which was the last one big decision, like a big deal, and which made you go from sometimes you are on a certain point, is do I go to the right or do I go to the left? What do I decide? Which was the last one what was a big deal, like a big decision?
Oh gosh.
And what was the impact for you as a system? Mind-body system.
So in terms of my practice.
Practice or person? Personal life. It's a deep question.
I like that question. I mean, there have been so many, but
Obviously, it has to be one that you want to share with us. Maybe there are big deal decisions you want to keep private, of course, but we make those decisions probably each and every day.
I think moving to the countryside.
Okay.
I moved from London to Oxfordshire with my husband a little bit more than a year and a half ago. Okay. So in February of 2017. Wait, 2018. 18. Okay. February of 2018. Yeah. And that decision was one I was excited to make, and the move was something I wanted to do, but I had hesitations.
Yeah.
And my husband was ready much earlier than I was. I felt my work, my commitments, my community, they're in London. I had a little bit of trepidation about moving out, but I wanted to be in nature.
Yeah.
And I know my body was ready for it, and I craved it.
Okay. Because that's one thing we probably think the listeners still think that you are in Beijing or in New York.
I live in the UK.
in the UK, that's why you could just fly over and quite easily do this workshop weekend here. Yeah. So you moved from London to the countryside. Yeah. What were your hesitations?
What I mentioned, losing community or being a little bit, overwhelmed by having to travel back into London. I'm still working in London 2 days a week more.
Okay. Yeah.
But the commute is fine, and my life has changed in ways that I could not have imagined. My kind of appreciation of this, the changes in seasons.
Oh yes.
The ability to see horizon lines and see nature really powerfully doing its thing every day.
Yeah. That's because the Qigong practice is very based on the 5 elements, and if you're in a city, it's probably not so.
It's
you
possible.
Can still,
It's very, very possible.
Yeah, but
because
when you're in nature, it's
just more pronounced in nature, and I feel that a lot of my rhythms are more aligned with what I feel is like a circadian rhythm, a natural rhythm.
Yeah.
I've slowed down a lot.
Okay.
I thought I was slow in London.
Yeah.
Now I know that, wow, I have a whole new kind of ease. And I'm still busy. I just don't feel like I'm pushing up against the river. I'm moving with it.
Okay. Yeah. That's another, the Wu Wei principle. Could you explain that to us? So how can we...
Wu Wei.
Yeah.
So it's the linchpin of Taoist thinking and belief, and most easily understood as effortless action or non-action action. Doing, not doing.
Not doing. Yeah.
My understanding of it, though, is that it is not doing anything. It's doing things without struggling,
without pushing it,
pushing it, and without unnecessary force.
Yeah.
But also with a quality of awareness and presence and listening. And so sometimes we have to practice something again and again and again and again and again until we can feel the effortlessness of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't come right away.
Yeah.
And Wu Wei is something that arises after a lot of willingness to be disciplined.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one, you have to be disciplined.
You have to have,
Yeah. But again, in that being disciplined, there's got to be some Wu Wei principle as well.
Yeah, to allow...
Not overdo it.
Yeah, to allow your effort to unfold, and then you step back.
Yeah.
There's one of my favorite lines or sections of the Tao Te Ching says, I don't remember all of it, but it says, keep sharpening your knife, and it will blunt.
Yeah.
Fill your bowl to the brim, and it will spill.
Yeah.
Keep sharpening your knife, and it will blunt. Chase after money and security, and your heart will never unclench.
That's nice.
Do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity.
Okay.
There's one more line in there.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah. Really nice. Yeah.
Do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity. And I feel like that's, in some ways, it's Wu Wei.
And it's a way of being in life as well. Because I remember I wanted to have my own studio, and I was always rejected by the government of like the city council. They say it's okay, you can stay there or there. And I really wanted to have my own studio. So I was really pushing the river as a kind of And if the idea, I just popped it into the air. I thought, and now I'm ready to start my own studio, and then sort of being able to let it happen. So it's not just on the mat or during Qigong practice, but it's a way of life as well, isn't it? Like throwing what you really want, your sankalpa in yoga, ideas. This is what makes you happy. Yeah. And if you want to have that, it's going to happen, but probably not in your time. But letting it happen, that's probably what comes close to Wu Wei as well.
Yeah, and allowing for things to unfold.
Yeah.
And also, it comes back to me of the right amount of effort. And it's a hard one because we often think, oh, we need to try harder. But sometimes doing less.
Less is more.
I remember I was in the eastern part of Tibet, and we got a flat tire.
Oh, yeah.
And the driver came out, and we had a spare, but the spare had never been used, and so the bolt was rusted. And he was trying, we were really far away from anything, and it was like, how are we gonna do this if we don't have the tire? But the bolt was rusted, and he tried to start to free it, and he started to strip it because it wouldn't budge. And you know, when you have a screw and you strip it, then you
Yeah.
can't use it.
Yeah.
And everybody tried. The strongest men tried.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And then we
There
flagged
came Kimi.
we flagged a car down. It was full of like armed police and other strong men.
Okay.
They tried, they couldn't do it, and it was getting more stripped.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, we were in Tibet. We saw these two nomads, these young boys, watching us from a distance.
Yeah.
And you know, I was getting worried. It was getting dark. It was getting cold. We didn't have much food or water, and so we finally sent someone in another car back to get help.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, these Tibetan nomads came along, and when everybody stopped trying, one of the boys came up and said, "Can I try?" And he was like young, skinny, you know, flip-flops.
Yeah, yeah.
And he puts his the wrench onto the bolt, and he barely moves it.
Okay.
He's just listening. He's listening. He's listening.
Oh,
And
that's good.
none of us thought anything's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
This guy's not going to do it. Same time that, like, just like 5 minutes later, he actually frees it. The same time, this majestic white horse arrives with these flags and whistles and bells. It was so beautiful. And the driver stops, and we were like, oh, right? And I was like, wow, this horse.
Yeah.
But I want to check out what's happening with the tire.
Yeah.
You know, and it was almost this reminder, you know, that the horse and the rider, and it was in the yoga tradition, you know, it's like the horse is your mind. You need to have the rider and the reins, and
Who's
not have
controlling
the horse.
who?
Yeah, not have the horse be too, you know, free, and have it focused.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was a spirit horse.
Okay.
And the Tibetan kid freed the bolt.
That's interesting.
But that was Wu Wei, right?
Yeah.
That was like listening, responding, not using unnecessary force. He was very gentle with it.
Yeah.
And it got it free.
Yeah.
So I have a teaching sort of story with that sometimes. I say, don't strip your screw.
Okay. Don't strip your screw.
Not to push so much. You know, people, I don't know about in Amsterdam, but in London I often see people really push.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, injuring themselves sometimes and puffing and puffing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Mimi, where can people find you if they are interested in knowing more about you? Do you have your website? Do you have books? You have videos?
I do. I have all of those. I have a website. It's mkdeemer.com. And I have 2 books. I wrote one on Qigong. It's called Qigong and the Tai Chi Axis.
Yeah. Oh, I've got it over there.
Oh,
I'll show it later.
Okay.
I've got it with me.
And then,
yeah, it's a really nice book.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
The second book is called Xiaoyang, and that means self-cultivation, and ancient art in China for aligning with the Tao, but self-cultivation for a happier, healthier, balanced life.
Right.
And that's a lifestyle guide. It has a little bit of yoga, meditation, ethics, lifestyle, Qigong.
Interesting. Yeah, very nice. And you're teaching in London and in Beijing?
Not much in Beijing anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, in London. So whenever you go to London, visit Kimi and do one of your classes.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. If people are interested in, if you enjoyed this this podcast with Mimi on Qigong, the book she's just mentioned, what can we do with the book? You just said.
Oh, I'm happy to offer a signed copy.
Okay.
Of the book.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Signed with her initials or probably a message or whatever. So if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, send me a message, send an email to info@mindyourbodyfitness.nl, and I will make sure. What's the English word for have a verloting? You hustle. Is it hustle?
Oh, a signature.
No, if you have all the people signing in, we should just take one out.
Yeah. We pick a name out of a hat.
Pick a name. Okay, that's what we do. So we pick just one of them out, and I'll make sure that you get the copy of the book of Mimi Kuo Deemer. Yeah. Is there anything I didn't ask you and you would like to tell the Dutch people?
I think that's it. Thank
you
so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Mimi, thank you so much for having this mixed in the weekend, because it's a long weekend and it was okay to have this interview. Thank you so much. And,
thank you for asking me to be part of it.
Okay. Namaste. enorm veel kennis en ervaring opgedaan met Mimi Kuo Deemer. Het was een inspirerend weekend, een inspirerende vrouw. Fijne groep mensen, lekker gewerkt. Het was bij tijd en wijle zelfs heel intensief. Dus ook erg aangenaam om even te kunnen rusten in Shavasana. En met het thema water, wat nogal aan bod is gekomen, alles lekker laten stromen. En in deze mooie yoga studio, Yoga Dreams in Zaandam, die deze workshop hosten. En tot rust gekomen in het Intel Hotel in Zaandam. Lekker op weg naar huis en alles weer laten bezinken, zodat we weer kunnen groeien. De volgende podcast heb ik met Koen de Jong, de man van Sportrusten. En Sportrusten is fan van ademhalingsoefeningen, kou, hardlopen, vroeg opstaan en avontuur. Ook dat belooft weer een mooie podcastaflevering te worden. Bedankt voor het luisteren. Dag!